you were like looking at my work and you were like, oh my God, it's like too good for you to be like a shoot and burn photographer. And that's exactly, what you're doing. And that's what I was doing, because I didn't know anything about the business side of it. And you were like, and I kept saying like, yeah, but I want to spend like more time on like, refining like Photoshop skill and lighting and everything. You were like, and you were literally like, yeah, but that's like already on a good enough level for you to like focus on business a bit. And when we started working in like January of this year, and like it's only been like 4 months or so, and the change is crazy, honestly. Like the transition, I'm like, I've made like more money than ever in like a month, and I didn't do like maybe like 60% of the work that I would do, in the whole like past year.
Hello and welcome to the Studio Takeover podcast. I am joined today by Ivana Desancic, and she has recently moved from North Carolina to Chicago, but I think more inspirationally so, understanding that she's actually emigrated from Bosnia to the US. And we lived in the same town for a hot minute. And I've watched her build her business and really kind of overcome the challenges of burnout and doing all the things, and then move across the country and still stay in motion. And I think it's like her timeline and what she's drawn to and what she creates is absolutely amazing. And I know you guys are going to love it. So without further ado, Ivana, welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so good to be here, and I'm so honored you invited me here.
Well, I'm so excited to have you. You and I met for coffee, God,
Like
probably.
ages ago.
It wasn't coffee, it was a cocktail. Who am I kidding? But, like in that time, you were trying to start your business and
Mhm.
you had just started working at a frame shop. Talk to me about like even coming to the US and what that sort of looked like in trying to get your feet under you and not just build a business, but build a life.
I just got really lucky because I figured out very early on that I wanted to be a photographer. Like literally since I got my first phone at like 10 years old that had like a 2 megapixel camera. And I just like started taking pictures of everything and everyone. And that was it. I'm just like, I'm a photographer and nothing else. But coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina, which is like a lot of people like still think that there's like war and like, disturbances here, but the war actually like ended like it's going to be 30 years this year,
Oh.
but it's a post-war country that absolutely never recovered, and it's still messy, and the economy is awful, so there's just like no opportunities or jobs or anything here. So if I stayed here, I would never even have the opportunity to like buy myself a camera, let alone become a photographer. So when the opportunity came for us to move to United States, I was like 16. And of course we were like, yeah, let's go and build a better life and, see what happens. And then I actually moved when I was 17, because it takes time for like all the paperwork to figure out all the paperwork. And then as soon as I moved here, like got my green card and my first paycheck, I spent it all, like literally the whole paycheck on a beginner's camera, and then just started learning about absolutely everything. And I wanted it for so long that I didn't like post a single image that I did in that whole first year, because I was like, I'm gonna do this right. When I start posting, it's gonna look like something, because they look bad. Trust me. At first,
Oh, I
they look
remember those
awful.
days.
So after I started like feeling, that it's okay, I can like start sharing this with the world. Like 5 months into that, I entered Adobe's competition and then won Adobe's award as the top talent photographer in 2019. So like right away when I started getting noticed, and it just started opening a lot of doors for me. And then I was like, oh, I could actually like make money from this,
Oh my God, I can get
Yeah.
paid. Yes, yes.
Exactly. But I knew nothing about the business side of it. And I was very, very always focused on like the technical sides of it, like learning the lighting in Photoshop. I remember like when we like started like, chatting, and like when we did our cocktail date and everything, you were like looking at my work and you were like, oh my God, it's like too good for you to be like a shoot and burn photographer. And that's exactly, what you're doing. And that's what I was doing, because I didn't know anything about the business side of it. And you were like, and I kept saying like, yeah, but I want to spend like more time on like, refining like Photoshop skill and lighting and everything. You were like, and you were literally like, yeah, but that's like already on a good enough level for you to like focus on business a bit. And then I still didn't do it for like a year, I still like kept doing my own thing and like not making any money, like barely like $2,000, a month. And I'm here like getting published in magazines, galleries, billboards, awards, and I'm not making any money, And you were like, okay, no, it's time to like, you're good. Like, stop practicing Photoshop, lighting, you're good. Just like
This is not
business
a
now,
money-making activity, Ivana.
Exactly. I know you really pushed me. You told me that at least like three times, before I really like, went in. And then I like looked at that free week and I was like, oh my God. I couldn't even believe that that's a possibility. So as soon as that was done, I just like, got the membership. And within like a few months, I started like making real money, that I deserve to make.
You mentioned that you moved here when you were 17. How old are you now?
25.
25. Okay.
So,
So over the course of 8 years, you
mhm,
moved across the world, built a business, built a craft, and it's
mhm,
not work that looks like just anybody else's work. Like that is
mhm,
one thing about, we talk a lot about the business side of it and money making
mhm,
activities and things like that. But really, like at the end of the day, as creatives, we want to focus on the Photoshop skills and the shooting
mhm,
skills and the creative elements. And I don't think that's something that ever goes away.
yep,
That's probably one of the biggest pieces of the puzzle for people is, but I don't want to do QuickBooks. I want to shoot. What the second you create a business and start charging,
mhm,
you have to really recognize that the business requires of you a different mindset and a different
mhm,
activity. But, if you're creating a business, then that means that you have to define what success looks like for that business. And that
mhm.
success might be billboards and awards and recognition, right? A lot of creatives, even introverts, are like, that sounds amazing.
Yes.
But the business won't survive if
Yes.
you don't make money. Now, you really hit the ground running in 23, right? Like
Hmm.
you were
Yes.
crazy busy and like talk to me about 2023 and what that looked like for you.
Like I said, I was like kind of like doing my own thing and focusing on like the artsy stuff of it until like 2022. And that's when it kind of like started taking off. That was my first year, as like a serious business. And then in 2023, like the whole year I was booked out like 3 months in advance. And I just kept doing it all on my own. And I'm just like, and I'm still struggling with that, with like outsourcing, some things, because I know, like, well, not right now because I moved to a whole other city, but I know that I'm going to get there like very fast too with how things are moving. But I'm just so scared of outsourcing. So I was just like putting everything, on myself, 4 or 5 months that go by without a single day off, And I know, I was literally killing myself like crazy. And I'm so happy with all the success and so thankful for all the clients and the money and everything. But I was literally killing myself, to get there. And then, of course, like it just drags like so many other things. My mental health went to hell, right away. And then it started like affecting my physical health too, and I'm like, oh my God, you're only 25 years old. Like, chill out, You're allowed to take some, like, at least a weekend off, like, but
Breathe.
my
Yeah.
mind, exactly. Yeah. But no, my mind is like, oh my God, if I don't answer to this one message right away, your business is going down, everything. Oh my, like you're saying, like, oh my God, we're all going to die right away. So that was like, it was just chasing and chasing and chasing and literally killing yourself from work. That's when I like figured out, okay, like, how it all works. It's working. You're doing all the things, but you need like a one-to-one mentor to just like refine it all. And whoever is listening, like you guys honestly like just always invest in whoever it is. Like it's so much easier. Like when we started working in like January of this year and like it's only been like 4 months or so and the change is crazy, honestly. Like the transition. I'm like, I've made like more money than ever in like a month, and I didn't do like maybe like 60% of the work that I would do, in the whole like past year. It's just so much better when you actually like realize that you can, yes, you can still keep making that much money and even more, but like doing it smarter, not harder, and allowing yourself to rest because that's when the best ideas and the best productivity like comes from.
Well, and
Definitely.
I'm glad you said that. Like, when we are in chasing mode, we're chasing because we feel like everything's built on a house of cards. And
Hmm.
when it's built on a house of cards, if you don't answer that message, it might all crumble, right? Like if you
Hmm.
don't get speed to lead fast enough and all of these things, one wrong move and it all goes away. And,
Yeah.
like I'm glad that you mentioned, starting in the portrait system. Like for those of you listening, I built my business on Sue Bryce's business model. And
Hmm.
over the course of the last 9 years since I started working with Sue, like I took that business model and, it's a terrific foundation. But like
Hmm.
you experienced, it was okay, I'm doing all of these things, I'm getting clients, I'm making money, but I am dying, right?
Yes.
And Sue refers to
It
it as
happens so fast.
it does. It does. And it's because, there are just little things that you can create there. If you're familiar with the Kaizen method, it's a Japanese
Hmm.
philosophy that it's not about new and fancy ways to do things. It's simply about refining systems and
Hmm.
strengthening to meet the purpose that you've set in place. And
Hmm.
so with that business model, and now the way that, I teach it with you and other students, it's really about refining those things and putting in very specific elements. And it's not just like the actions of this is how you sell artwork, but it's also how you approach
Hmm.
situations and make decisions, right? It's
Hmm.
sales psychology and the philosophy and understanding what the hell it is
Hmm.
you're here to do and why.
Hmm.
Why does it matter?
And it's also something that we all struggle with, like at first, because we all think, oh yeah, I'm a photographer now, so all I'm gonna do is, sit at home and everybody's gonna come and book me just because my work is on social media and I'm just gonna be here, shooting and editing all the time. And that's all. And in reality, like shooting and editing is maybe like 30% of what you need to do actually to make your business work.
Well,
And
and in a way that allows you to thrive both creatively and in your life outside of the business. You know, I'm
Mhm.
I am so notorious, is that the word? For just constantly being in motion as an entrepreneur and working on the business and thinking about the business. But like you were saying, right? Like it's when you allow yourself the chance to rest that you get the downloads, right? Those
Mhm.
refinements that you want to make, like that's when they come, not
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
just working from 6 in the morning until midnight trying to
Yeah.
keep the house of cards from blowing over.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
God. And it's so easy to like fall into that and not even realize what you're doing. And then all of a sudden you're like sick, like both mentally and physically. And you're just like start like you don't feel the love that you felt, when you first started, and we really like as photographers need to work from a place of love because and thankfully like I never like let it affect it like in my client session and everything. I would like pull out like my last bit of energy to give myself fully and to feel the love and to like give them that love. And it all went like always great. But and then I just like crash, and I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do this, anymore. And now that I like transitioned, and I've been resting for like the past month, which has been amazing. And I have like 2 more weeks to go, And well, like we talked about the other day, like now I'm getting like, oh my God, I'm so excited to come back home and to like photograph all of these people that I booked, and like just to give them all the love and like the attention and everything that they deserve, from a session. So like just rest, guys. Like please rest.
Rest. It is meaningful. You moved from North Carolina to Illinois and you really
Hmm.
didn't miss a beat. Right. And so,
Yes.
and I know we worked on building some baseline campaigns for you so that you could start booking in another space. I talk to
Hmm.
dozens of photographers every week, and the number one issue that everybody's facing, or that they seem to think that they're facing, is I need lead generation. When
Yes.
really it's not lead generation that they need, it's sustainability so that they can be in business with the leads that they already have. But how did how did you go about like that transition? Because you finished out and you were shooting almost up until like the very last day. And
Yeah, literally the last days.
yeah, moved across the country, like packed up your studio, packed up your home, and moved to Illinois. And in that, you've already booked out your first month there. What does that marketing look like in your world?
So I'm a huge planner. Like I'm really like the type of a person. Like if I'm listening to a class or if I'm listening to you, I'm gonna do it like word to word. I'm just like listen to your mentors and do what they say and it will work. Trust me. It's like that simple as that, literally. But I knew that I was gonna be moving in April, so I literally started in December. I went to Chicago in December, in January, in February. I already joined some networking groups, like online ones, that would of course fit my business. And every time I would go there for like at least like 2 or 3 days, like he told me, I would do at least like three networking like events in that one day, and then I would rest the other two. So that really helped. But in April, the moment I like literally moved there, I gave myself, a few days, to settle and just started doing all the things, I started working on a campaign. I like right away, I started like, I don't know, I'm like, I guess like people feel comfortable around me, anytime wherever I go. So everybody's always like approaching me and we're like joking and like, having fun. So it's honestly like easy for me to connect with people, even though I'm an introvert. Like, guys, I'm an introverted introvert. And when I go home, I like can't see anyone for like 3 days. But I'm not allowing that to stop me or I just don't use it as an excuse. Because of course, if I didn't have to, I would never go and meet anybody, But it's the part of it. And no, oh my God, I would live like in a hut, like in the woods somewhere. But but I'm not letting it stop me, and I like in the moment as I'm doing it, it's great and it's awesome meeting new people and I get like so many new, I learned so much from them too. But then I crash, so and I'm saying this on purpose because I also like talk with a lot of photographers just, as online friends and everything. And everybody's excuse is always like, oh, I could never do that. I'm an introvert. It's so easy for you because you're extroverted. And I'm like, I'm not extroverted at all. Trust me. Like I cannot, my God. And it's like, it's this thing that it's honestly like the hardest thing for me to do just because it drains my energy so much. But I know that I cannot build my business, especially in a new city, if I'm not doing it. And so I started doing it right away, and now I'm fully booked until August, so it works. You just like can't let yourself stop you.
Well, and
Yeah.
I love that so much, right? I was having a
Yeah.
conversation with my associate photographer yesterday about masking. And
Hmm.
with masking, like we have to show up as this version of ourselves that's completely okay with whatever is the moment, right? What's the purpose?
Hmm.
And they were like, God, but it's so exhausting. And I was like, yeah, so you've got a bookend time before and after to like just let yourself
Hmm.
exist, right? So that you
Hmm.
can rest. But that doesn't mean you don't go out and do the thing. It just means you get very strategic about it, how you approach,
Yes.
how you have the conversations. On one of the group calls, this week people were talking about like, okay, I'm doing the networking thing. I'm inviting people to one-on-ones, but then what? And I'm like, well,
Hmm.
do you want to work with them? And they're like, yeah, but I don't want to be
Yeah.
salesy. And I was like, well, that doesn't mean you can't do it in a jovial way, right? Like,
Yeah.
when are we doing your photo shoot? And they're like,
Yeah.
oh, but I thought we weren't supposed to sell the room. And I'm like, it's not about the selling, it's about the invitation, right? If you
Yeah.
take
Just giving the opportunity.
yeah. It doesn't mean you never
Hmm.
talk about what you do. It just means like
Hmm.
you find opportunities in what they do where you can be in service to
Hmm.
solve problems that they have.
Yeah. Yeah. And just not be shy of those things because maybe like three out of these like eight bookings that I got from July, I like heard them, in like a networking meeting saying just like, oh, I've been needing new headshots for like 3 years already, or like just something like that. And they don't reach out to me. And then I just like reach out to them and I'm just like, oh, I remember you saying, whatever. And I would love to do this for you. And then like it's just a conversation. You're not like making them do anything and they can say no too, And it's just like I said, like it's not salesy when you're doing it like through an invitation.
Exactly. Exactly.
And people like are totally okay with that. I've literally never had a single person tell me like, "Oh my God, why are you reaching out to me?" Or like anything like that. They're just like, "Oh yeah, let's do it," or
You're
like, "Oh,
such
I'm
a
not
bad
ready yet.
person
I'll
for
reach out to
emailing
you."
me. Oh my God.
Yeah, exactly. Like, trust, nothing happens. You'll be fine.
Okay, so now we had a conversation, I think it was in November, about
Hmm.
coming on and working with me
Hmm.
because, that year, like you hit 100K last year.
Like
But it was like
over.
there were
Yeah.
you were missing some steps there, right? Like,
Yes.
and then you were like, I'm
Hmm.
moving to Chicago in April and I really want to, but I'm already booked into February. Like, what do I do? What do
Hmm.
I do? And you were really focusing super hard on filling out through April. And I was like,
Hmm.
you have enough word of mouth to carry you. Like, you need to focus on Chicago. Like,
Yes.
and like you were saying, like go to Chicago, like hop on an Allegiant flight, go to the city you're moving to and start getting involved. So how
Hmm.
does like the revenue you've generated so far this year, right? How does that compare to the same timeline last year and the number of clients?
It's like, oh my God, it's like double. Yeah, definitely. Like, but with like, how do you say, like double, like less the work too, like
Okay.
I just like I started making more money without doing as
So
much,
half the
because
clients
of the
and double the revenue.
yes, yes, yes. And I
So
had
you
like my
had
best, oh my God, I like in these 4 months that we've been working like together, I sold like more wall art pieces than I did in the whole like 3 years before that, literally. So, my God, just wall art. Like, I just want to sell wall art all the time now,
all the
you
time.
know? Yeah, but it really, really helped because like I said, like it was already working for me, like just because I like followed all the steps, but I was like figuring it out on my own.
Mhm.
And then they were like, I just like the more I did it, the more I realized how much more there actually is and how much like refining I need to do with the systems, with my time, with clients and the way I'm like doing things. And like I said, like I've never had an unsatisfied client. It was all like working, but it it wasn't working for me.
Right.
So that's why I just like I knew that I'm moving to a new city and I just like no, I'm gonna invest in this and it's gonna like come to me in triple and it literally did in like the first 2 months. you know
Awesome.
so I just like really wanted to do it right this time because I'm starting all over. And it was just my opportunity to do it, like to build the business and the life that I really really want. And it really really helped me. I know we started in like January and like I said, I just listen. Just listen and I do the thing and it works. And that's why I'm like, and the reason I keep repeating this is because like I said, I talk with a lot of photographers all the time that are in the same like space when like either Sue or you or Megan or whoever it is. And they're like, oh my God, nothing's working. And then I ask them like, okay, but what are you doing for your marketing, for your networking, for whatever? And then they're like, oh, nothing really. So,
Yeah.
and like, or they say like 2 out of 5 things or like just, but you have to do it all. Like you really need to like do it all, for
Yeah,
it
no,
to work.
I call it cherry picking. You don't get to cherry pick. Like you have to do
Yes.
all of the things and they work in concert. Now that isn't to say that like certain things take time to create and start building
Yes.
and get spinning and momentum. Like people assume that, they're going to hire a mentor or take a course and just use what works for them
Yeah.
without really even understanding why those steps and systems are in place. So the pin they're pulling out of that process is the one that is going to make the house of cards crumble. That's why it doesn't work when you
Yes.
cherry pick. Whether you're working with
Yes.
Hugh Bryce or Megan DiPiero or Cat Ford Coates, like
Hmm.
everybody has a system. And you don't start cherry picking. The refinement doesn't come beforehand. The refinement comes
Hmm.
after. You get it into muscle
Yes.
memory, and then you're like, okay, how could I make this more efficient and more effective?
Yes.
Right?
Definitely.
Without shooting myself in the foot. Right?
Yeah.
If you're telling me, well, that just isn't going to work here in my town, like get out of here.
Hmm. Hmm. It's so easy to make excuses. Like I could make so many excuses, like right this second, like literally, But it's just like I just know that that's not going to serve me. And there's so many things, of course, that you don't like doing as a business owner because we're all artists and all we want to do is create art and shoot and edit. But it just unfortunately doesn't work that way. And I used to like compare myself too to like, oh, if I get to like, I don't know, I'm like dreaming real big now, but like, Lindsay Adler level or
Yeah.
whatever. And then the more I started like looking at her classes and like interviews and everything, she's literally, it's the same. Like no matter what level you are, she's just like a name. So she gets like clients easier. And my God, that woman is doing so many things. She has literally a team of people, and she's like in it all.
Yeah.
It's still the same. Like no matter what level you are at, you're still gonna spend more time on like networking and marketing and everything. I saw like one of her classes, like what she does to get clients for like the next year, and it's so much money, so much preparation, so much work goes into it, so it's just never like you're just sitting and the clients are like coming to you,
Right.
So the
Right.
sooner everybody realizes that, the sooner it's going to start working,
Well, and there is something to be said for referrals. Like referrals
Hmm.
are the GOAT. Like you're never going
Hmm.
to out advertise, out market word of mouth referrals. And you
Yes.
can put, programs and incentives in place to encourage those referrals. But because they require the action of another person and not the same person again and again, but another person, they're
Hmm.
not predictable.
Hmm.
So if it's not predictable, as a business owner, as a CEO, you have to be able to project. Projection is
Hmm.
one of the most powerful and not just powerful, but empowering parts of being a business owner. Because when
Yes.
you know what levers you can pull and you're following the metrics, right? You're following
Hmm.
the data and
Hmm.
okay, well, I get this marketing avenue typically produces X number of leads. This marketing avenue produces this number of leads, right? And then the way my sales system is set up, I can expect each person to spend approximately Y amount. Okay.
Hmm.
Well, now you get to decide where to focus your energy and resources. But if you're solely dependent on those referrals, you can't project.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's why I'm so glad I started tracking my numbers finally.
Uh-huh.
It's literally all about it. And that's what my husband does and always tells me. It always really helps me when I go into those, like, oh my God, we're all gonna die. I'm never gonna get a single client ever again. He's like, okay, let's look at the numbers, and then we compare it to like the last 2 years, and it's always like, oh, okay, that actually makes sense, you know. So
Well,
it's
and I
yeah,
think
track
that's
your
why,
numbers.
starting in a new area is scary because you don't have
Hmm.
proof of concept in that space and you don't
Hmm.
have relationships really in
Yeah.
a new space in a new city. And so people are like, "Oh my God, but I'm moving like, oh my what happens if nobody ever books me ever again?"
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm looking at
Love the
moving
question.
and it's the kind of the same thing. Like, okay, what marketing pieces can I put into place once I
Hmm.
decide, where it is that I'm personally going to move? And like the Asheville studio, as long as sales are up, I'm happy to keep it open, right?
Oh
But
yeah,
it's,
absolutely.
like that's kind of a no-brainer, right? And just come back
Hmm.
once a
Hmm.
month and check in and keep a pulse on it, but that's when those metrics become super important when you're not in the room every day.
Yes.
But it's because those metrics are so empowering. Like when you do track and creatives, we're all like, God, spreadsheets, no, make it stop. And
Ugh,
it's like, guys,
I know.
you
I'm
can
still like,
track
oh
where
my
your
God.
money's coming from and when you can be as
Yes.
creative as you want.
Yes. And you can plan on things more accurately and just like see when you need to put in more of marketing or networking or whatever it is, and when you can rest more too, because it just like it really like repeats itself, just the numbers hopefully get
Yeah.
higher every year.
Well, at least, to that's you defining what success looks like, right? It's
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
just they
exactly.
get higher every year. It's like, okay, at a baseline, success looks like, right? Whether that's 100K,
Yes.
200K, 500K, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But you have to reverse engineer it and you can't do that without data. Oh,
Unfortunately, you can't.
no, but the same
Yeah.
is true for, creating a photo shoot, right? Like
Hmm.
without understanding what the client's vision is, what their favorite colors are, how they decorate their home, all of
Hmm.
that information That's data that you then use
Mm-hmm.
to plan a specific concept for them that they're going to adore, which
Mm-hmm.
then, based on your sales process, right, results in wall art.
Yes. Yes, definitely. Oh my God. I'm so happy that started happening because like oh, whoever is like following me, you know that like my work really goes as wall art, because
Mhm.
it's all like dreamy and fantastical and it's like, like art literally. And I was just like so scared of even like mentioning that as an option. And I just like point at it and they're like, oh yeah, we're getting like three.
Yep.
So just my God, whatever happened to me, like so far, I was just standing in my own way, And once you just like take time to realize that and to like, get over it and just
Yep.
realize that it's nothing scary. And the worst thing that can happen is you hearing no, that's it.
What is something coming down the pike for this year that you are like stupid excited about? What are you working on? What are you putting into place? Like, what's happening in your world for not just the creative side, but the inspirational, like, I can't wait to do this.
Mhm. Oh, I cannot wait. Like as soon as I'm back, I can't wait to get my own studio space just because like I thought, oh my God, I'm not gonna be able to do it in like at least 6 months or so, because it's a new city or whatever. But since I'm like getting revenue, like even now in Bosnia, just from like session fees and everything. And since I'm booked out, until August, I'm like, let's just do this because it's gonna make my life so much easier. And I'm working with a commercial realtor to help me find like a really, really good space. And that's going to be my first own studio because I was sharing a space with another with my hair and makeup artist basically in Asheville. So that's like the first thing that I'm doing and just like decorating it exactly how I want to and just like making it like comfortable and beautiful and sexy, for everyone. And then also my the faces campaign that I'm working on just because I've talked with like so many people about it so far and I've been getting so many inquiries and like people are just like thrilled about it, because I honestly wasn't expecting that in Chicago just because there's so many photographers out
Sure.
there, and like so much more competition and like so many more like shoot and burn photographers, so I really thought, that it's not that it wouldn't like come as fast, but or that it wouldn't be like as needed, or something as in some places because it's such a huge area and I've never lived in a city that big, but I've been only like basically living there for like about a month and it's already like really taking off and whoever I talked with was like, "Oh my God, we need more of this. I'm so glad you're doing this. I can't believe you're doing this." And I'm like, "Yeah,
Yeah.
damn right."
Well, and
So
the Faces campaign that you created, talk to me about why you created it.
yeah, I honestly created it because I'm just so tired of seeing just like one type of beauty absolutely everywhere, in ads and like commercials and like, I mean, it's great. Like, of course, they're all beautiful, but there's like so many more types of beauty. And we as photographers like really see it in people. Like, I can't look at a person and not say, anything like I just like always find something beautiful about someone. And that's why like everybody feels so comfortable in my sessions and I always get the like, oh my God, who is this? Oh my God, is that me? And I'm always like, yeah, that's you, and like high resolution, not even edited. And I just like love seeing that spark, and that love come back into them if they like forgot or if they just like weren't feeling it. So I just wanted to, have an exhibition and just like show people that like no matter how old you are or the skin color or your I don't know sexual orientation or whatever it is, that everybody just deserves to be celebrated and represented, and I've even had like people, which is amazing, like reach out to me with like because I have skin issues too. I have like the worst case of eczema and they were like, oh my God, I have like eczema all over my face, can I still be a part of it? And I'm like, yes. That's exactly why we're doing it. Like you having eczema on your face, I had it all over my face too. Like that doesn't have to mean you have to hide, and not think you're beautiful or something. So I'm just so, and I'm so passionate about showing people, how beautiful they are, exactly how they are, without changing anything. Of course, like some hair
Well,
and makeup, if they want to, but
well,
but
and it's
yeah.
interesting. Like we create these campaigns because in the world of portrait, it's not like weddings where, a bride and groom or a couple, they pick a date and they start calling photographers because now they have, there's a sense of urgency because there's a deadline on it,
Hmm.
right? With portrait, it's not the same. With portrait, you have to
Hmm.
give people a reason to do business with you. And
Yes.
so, when I teach people like, let's take a look, a bird's eye view of your whole year. right? And where
Hmm.
can you typically expect referrals from? Right? Like Mother's
Hmm.
Day is one, or the holidays is a pretty big season traditionally. And
Definitely.
where do you want to go on vacation and take some rest time, right? When is that going to happen? Okay. So now we have to put these campaigns in place in the times that, there's not a Hallmark holiday and you're not anticipating, historically produced leads, right? That turn into bookings.
Hmm.
But you should always, 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 always connect it to something that's meaningful for you. And there are a lot
Hmm.
of educators out there like, do the 40 over 40 and create this funnel and do this thing. And like, yes, that's a campaign. But look, if you're
Yeah.
not into, if empowering women over 40 is not your jam, it's not something that you feel like on a heart connection to, then
Hmm.
it's not gonna
Don't
fly.
do it.
Right.
Yeah.
But when you can show up in your marketing, in any paid advertising that you're doing, and communicate audibly and visually what it is that you love
Hmm.
and why you love it, why it's valuable to
Hmm.
you, and how it's transformational and impactful for them, like
Hmm.
gas on, baby. It's like on like
Oh
Donkey Kong.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh yeah. People just feel it and then they want to be a part of it, because you excite them, you get them excited about it.
Absolutely.
They didn't even
Absolutely.
know they needed it.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
I definitely want an invitation for the exhibition. Like
That
that.
sounds good.
I'm coming to Chicago. Like that's a whole lot. It's funny. I was
Oh,
talking
we'll have
to,
so much fun.
oh, so much. I'm so excited. But I was talking to a photographer from Chicago. Was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was the day before. I think it
Hmm.
was Monday. And they were talking about like, well, how do I stand out? There's so many photographers here. And I was
So
like, yeah,
many.
and I pulled it up on Google and I was like, registered, there's 1,940 photographers. Why are you fighting with
Hmm.
1,800 of them for $300 sessions?
Yeah.
Right? So connect your
Yeah,
art to your
exactly.
work and worry about what you need the business to make in order for you to create the work that you want to create in a way that's
Hmm.
sustainable for you.
Hmm.
Right. And that was
Exactly.
really the big shift for you this year was like, okay, now I've got proof of concept. I know I can be doing 10 and $15,000 months, but dear
Hmm.
God, like,
I don't want to work this much
yeah.
for it.
Well,
Yeah.
because that turns into 80-hour work weeks and 15-hour
Yes.
days and resenting the people that are standing in front of you. And we can try and get present. But I mean, I've had times where I'm with clients and just like, just get through it, cat. Just get through it. Just get through it. Cookie cut it. Just get them
Hmm.
out the door. Like you need the
Hmm.
revenue, but you need to sleep too.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's
And
really
you
what,
don't want to be serving from that place, and you don't have to like get there at all. Like it can all be done if you just like, do it right. Because I've been doing it right for the past like only like 4 months, and man, I feel like a new person, like literally. And I've made like so much money. Again.
yeah,
Like it can definitely still happen.
that's awesome. That's awesome. I'm so
Definitely.
excited for you. Oh,
Me too. Oh my God. I'm just glad that I'm the type of a person that I am. Like I told you like the other day, like especially after like doing one-to-one with you, like mentoring, like literally wherever you put me now no matter like Europe or America or whatever, I know that I'm gonna succeed, because I know like the steps, I know how do you say, like adjust them to the place around me, and it's just like no way of not working, like literally if you're doing all of it. Yeah. And of course, like I don't like when people like compare themselves. Like it did happen for me fast, but for some people, like it takes like a year, literally, and that's also totally okay. And you're still an artist if you have a day job. I had a day job for the first like 3 years of my business, literally, because it just doesn't happen like right away, to people that have been doing it like 10 years more than me, and I'm like, oh my God, why am I not there? But then I like shifted my mindset about it and I stopped comparing myself to them and rather started seeing them as inspiration. And I'm like, oh yeah, so if they're there, why couldn't I be there too,
yeah.
so now I just like look at everybody as inspiration, because if they can do it, I can do it too, so
Well,
just
I'm
like
really glad you said that. Like, well,
mm,
everything you just said, I love. Because you
yeah.
can be success. I could drop you in the middle of Arkansas and you'd be fine. Um,
Yeah,
but at the same time,
thanks to
like,
you.
but it really is like, that that knowing
Mm-hmm.
that will completely shift how you show up for anything else in the future. And when we're in that space of needing a day job, like you said, it happened really fast, but really it didn't. It took you 3 years
Mm-hmm.
with a
Mm-hmm.
day job to get to where you could start booking consistently and walk away from the day job. Right.
Yeah.
But then it did, like you were getting accolades and attention. Right. But your
Mm-hmm.
system in place, like, wasn't really quite there to be able to accept
Mm-hmm.
any business that came from that recognition and keep
Oh
any
yeah.
for yourself.
Oh
Right.
yeah.
And so when we are comparing ourselves to other people, like somebody in the group said recently, they're branding focused, right? And
Mm-hmm.
uh somebody else locally posted this thing like looking super busy and headshot marathon, and they were like, well, I can't do it now because they're doing a marathon and booking all these clients, so there's nobody left for me. And I was like, whoa, wait, so
Oh no.
you've got proof of concept that somebody locally is doing what it is that you want to be doing, and you're telling me you can't because they are?
That just tells you that you can do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I hear that a lot too. Like really, that's why um I don't know, like I said, like whenever it happens for you, it will happen if you're doing like, all the steps, but just comparing yourself like that with others just because there are I mean, wherever you are, there's like enough people for everyone, literally. I mean, I was in Nashville, that's like, oh my God, like four times smaller than Chicago. And still, like you were there, like Amanda was there, so many other photographers were there, and we were all like doing the same system and we were still okay.
Yep.
There's always enough people for everyone, like literally.
Yeah.
You just like need to create your own circle of people, and
Well,
even
and
like,
people in metropolitan areas, I would actually,
mhm,
suggest that it's going to be a little bit harder because the
I think so
competition
too.
is more fierce, right? Than people in a
Mm-hmm.
small town. Now,
Mm-hmm.
when you shift into being in a town of like, 1,000 people, then it's a little tough if you're not near a metropolitan area.
Mm-hmm.
But like Asheville City is like 90,000 people, and the county here, Buncombe County, is like 250,000.
Mm-hmm.
There's enough work for everybody. I cannot photograph 90,000 people in a year.
No,
But
definitely not.
unless
You
we
would
go
need a
like We Are
huge
the
team.
World style, and I just do, sections of 1,000 people a day, like
Yeah.
there is enough. And then when you connect your work to your heart, instead of
Hmm.
just looking at it as a way to cookie cut through things, like, yes, have systems and workflows in place, but those
Hmm.
systems and workflows are there so that you have the capacity to be creative throughout that process.
Hmm.
Yes, workflows are great, but the whole reason you
Hmm.
picked up a camera and you started a business is because you found joy in creating for other people
Yes,
as much as yourself.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And we all produce like the different types of work too. Like even if that like you mentioned that headshot photographer in the marathon, I'm sure their work is different,
Yep.
from the person that was like, "Oh, I can't do it," like completely different. Cause like no matter how much we try to like copy someone, which we shouldn't like do, but like take inspiration or whatever, you're still gonna produce something of your own that's gonna look different, and you're gonna attract different people too. So of course, like my work is very like whimsical and dreamy. No matter if I'm doing like headshots, it's still you're still gonna feel a bit of like whimsy in it. And some people don't like that, and of course they're gonna like go towards somebody that's just like corporate, and everything. But that's why you have those. That's why you have me. That's why you have you. Like just different styles for different people, and I'm sure it can happen for anyone. Definitely,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
yeah.
Ivana, thank you so much for being here. I always adore our
Absolutely.
conversations. I'm so proud of
Thank
you. And yeah, like,
you.
and I can't wait to come to Chicago.
Yes, please do. My God, every time you're there, let me know. I would love to hang out. And thank you so much for having me. It was lovely.
Thanks, you too.
Bye bye.